Hare Krishna, Har Har Mahadev. The Jews, alias Judaists, alias Jaunists, are the Jadu people of the clan of Lord Krishna who had to migrate from the Dwarika kingdom after the Mahabharata war, particularly after the departure of Lord Krishna from this planet, because life became impossible as a result of nuclear explosions, fratricide, and anarchy. Of the 22 tribes that left the region from time to time in quick succession, 10 which proceeded north met with disaster and perished. Out of the remaining 12, a few families dropped off and settled down in regions currently known as Iraq, Syria, Palestine, Egypt, Greece, and Russia. That great exodus took place 5786 years ago. The Passover year, which the Jews commemorate, provides a tally of the period elapsed from the time they left Bharat. By a curious irony of fate, the Hindus, worshippers of Lord Krishna, face as much hostility from the Muslims on the Bharatiya subcontinent as their long separated brethren, the Jews, face from the Arab Muslims surrounding Israel. One of their monarchs in West Asia was Solomon. E. Pocock, the writer of India in Greece, observes, quote, that Bharat was the point whence came the gold and the luxurious appliances of Solomon's court is clear. Both the length of the voyage and the nature of the commercial imports and the original land of the Phoenicians establish this fact. It was a coasting voyage of 3 years, unquote. Pocock adds, quote, when Judah did evil in the sight of the Lord and built them high places and images and groups on every high hills and under every tree, the object was Baal, and the pillar was his symbol. It was on this altar they burned incense and sacrificed the calf on the 15th day of the month, the sacred Amavas of the Hindus. The calf of Israel is the bull of Baleshwar or Ishwar, unquote. The word Bal alias Baleshwar is Bal Krishna alias Baleshwar, means the divine child Krishna. The name Solomon is a Sanskrit term. The great poet Kalidas describes King Dushyant as Shalmanav, means a tall, hefty person with an impressive personality. The term Solomon is that Sanskrit word with its vowel A, rounded in pronunciation as O. The image of the golden calf that one often hears of in the history of the Jews was the calf leaning against which Lord Krishna used to play the flute while grazing cows. The reference to the golden calf that survives in the Jews' history suggests that the idol in their temples was in fact that of Lord Krishna playing the flute, leaning against the calf. At that age, Lord Krishna was tall enough to lean only against a calf and not a cow. Moreover, cows used to move around grazing, while calves, yet sucking at the orders of their mothers, were not interested in grazing. Though all evidence suggests that Judaists are all devotees of Lord Krishna, why is it that Lord Krishna's idol is not set up or worshipped in Jewish temples? The reason is that when the Jews left Bharat 5786 years ago, as Hindus, they worshipped a number of Vedic deities When they left the Dwarka kingdom, members of such tribes worshipped different deities of their own preferences, as the Hindus often do. Since they were now uprooted from their Dwarika homeland and were being scattered over a vast region, they apprehended that if they continued to worship different idols, their unity might crack and they would be divided into hostile clans. That is why, as a precaution, to maintain their unity during their wanderings, they all decided to give up idol worship altogether. It is therefore that Jewish shrines have no idols, yet sentimentally Jews are not hostile to idol worship, unlike Muslims. And it is therefore that their history is divided into parts referring to temples, such as the history of the first temple and the history of the second temple. The language of the Jews is known as Hebrew. Encyclopedia Judaica offers only a partial explanation. It says that the first syllable, he, is an abbreviation of the divine name. The encyclopedia is uncannily right, but it fails to elaborate what that whole divine name is. Obviously, that divine name is Hari, a synonym of Krishna. The encyclopedia also fails to explain the other syllable brew. That is a Sanskrit term signifying speech. Consequently, the term Hebrew signifies the language which Lord Hari means Krishna spoke. It is well known that Krishna spoke Sanskrit because Lord Krishna's words are recorded in numerous ancient Sanskrit scriptures in Bharat. But since the Jews, mean the Jadu tribes of Lord Krishna, left the Dwarika region, the original Sanskrit that they spoke during Lord Krishna's time has undergone considerable change of pronunciation and admixture of words, so that what was Sanskrit 5786 years ago is now become Hebrew. The so-called David star, which is the emblem of the Jews, is a tantric Vedic symbol. It consists of two interlocked triangles with the apex of one facing north and the other the south. This symbol is drawn in front of every Orthodox Hindu home in stone powder design. Every morning after the house is washed, the figure is often a part of the holy Rangoli design sketched at the entrance to Hindu homes. Even its name David is the Sanskrit word Devida, means bestowed by the mother goddess. The so-called Humayun tomb building in New Delhi, which was a Vedic goddess Lakshmi temple, is inlaid with those emblems on the exterior upper portion of its walls. The Jews call themselves the chosen people of God. This tradition arises from the fact that they belong to the Jadu clan of Lord Krishna. As such, they were known as Jadavas. Since Y changes to J in popular pronunciation, the term Yadavas changed to Jadavas and thence to Judites. Bharat has variations of that name aplenty amongst its people in the forms of surnames like Yadav, Jadav, and Jadeja, etc. The promised land of the Jews was Canaan. Because Lord Krishna was known as Kanha, his land was consequently known as Canaan. Jainism is the Sanskrit word Devanism, meaning the cult of God or the divine group. Sanskrit D often gets transformed as G, leading to Devanism being pronounced as Jainism. The birth story of Moses is identical with that of Lord Krishna. Even the term Moses is the Sanskrit word Mahesh, meaning the great Lord, means Krishna. The Old Testament prophecy of God reincarnating himself from time to time to save the virtuous and punish the wicked is echoed from the pronouncement of Lord Krishna in his Bhagavad Gita discourse that he has to reincarnate himself in every era. For example, Jada Jada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata. This is a very famous verse. The old scripture of the Jew laws and legends bears the Sanskrit name Talmud. Tal signifies the palm and mod alias mudra is the imprint, means the script written on it. Therefore, Talmud signifies a palm leaf manuscript. The name signifies ancient Vedic scriptures written on palm leaves. The Jews obviously carried such Sanskrit manuscripts whichever were at hand when they left their homes after the deluge havoc in the Dwarika region. The vision of the Lord amidst a column of smoke and fire which Moses saw in the desert is obviously the special vision of divinity popularly known as Vishwarupa in a gigantic form which Lord Krishna arranged for Arjuna to witness at Kurukshetra as described in the Bhagavad Gita. The term Galilee is the Sanskrit term Gavalaya, means the sanctuary of cows belonging to Nanda, in whose farmstead Krishna was nurtured to adulthood. Similarly, Nazareth is Nandaratha, means Nanda's chariot, and Bethlehem is Vatshalya Dham, meaning the home of the darling child. The Jerusalem's octagonal Krishna and Shiva temple, currently known as the Dome on the Rock and being used as a mosque, is built on the eastern hill because the east is invariably preferred in Vedic tradition. The octagon is also a shape of Vedic preference and sanction. The Jews traditionally prefer and respect arranged marriages because under age-old Vedic tradition it is the responsibility of the experienced elders to fix up a suitable match for their ward. The Jews also erect special pandals for a wedding. Such pandals are considered sacred and blissful. This is a Vedic custom. The Jews have a festival of lights too, namely the Deepavali, as do the Hindus. They call it Hanukkah. The Jews also have a tradition of regarding plants as divine and worshipping them. Thus, the Jews too adore a sacred plant like the tulsi, means basil, and trees like peepal and banyan, as do the Hindus. Thus, Sanskrit Vedic tradition is capable of explaining every aspect of Jewish life. A footnote in the book of Marco Polo's travelogue records, quote, much has been written about the ancient settlement of Jewish Kaifengfu in China. One of the most interesting papers on the subject is in Chinese Repository, volume XX. It gives the translation of a Chinese Jewish inscription. Here is a passage with respect to the Israelite religion. We find on inquiry that its first ancestor Adam came originally from Bharat, and that during the period of the Chow state the sacred writings were already in existence. The sacred writings embodying eternal reason consist of 53 sections. The principles therein revealed is very mysterious, being treated with the same veneration as heaven. The founder of the religion is Abraham, who is considered the first teacher of it. Then came Moses, who established the law and handed down the sacred writings. After his time, this religion entered China, unquote. The reference to the sacred writings handed down from Abraham and treated with the same veneration as heaven clearly implies the Vedas, because according to tradition, the Vedas were made available by Brahma, spelled as Abraham in the West. The footnote also records that the Jews originate from Bharat. Obviously, therefore, the Jews regarded the Vedas with the highest veneration. The name Adam is the Sanskrit word Adim, means the first or ancient most man. For example, it is stated in Brahma Samhita, Govindam Adipurusham Tamahang Bhajami. The Islamic word Admi is of the same Sanskrit vintage, signifying a descendant of Adim, means Brahma. In the Vedic tradition appeared Moses, alias Mahesh, means the great incarnation. Lord Krishna, who again expounded the Vedic doctrine through his Bhagavad Gita discourse, is well known. Both Islamic tradition and the Jewish belief quoted earlier acknowledge that Bharat has been the source and the headquarter of worldwide Vedic culture. The footnote quoted previously also incidentally asserts that China too followed the same Vedic culture, that Syria is named Sura, means divine country of Lord Krishna, alias Hari, and that the Jews also belongs to Lord Krishna's clan is apparent from Encyclopedia Judaica, which notes that, quote, Israel and central southern Syria were referred to as Horu, chiefly as an ethnic term after the Horites who inhabited the country. The Jews are known as Horites because the leader of their community was Hari, alias Lord Krishna. He was a Sur, means God. Therefore, the term Surya, alias Syria, was the land of God Krishna. Since Syria was the land of Lord Krishna, that was the region to which the Jews headed after they left the Dwarika kingdom. When the Mahabharata war ended and the Dwarika region was ravaged by fratricide, the great deluge and antisocial elements. Unquote. Jerusalem, the chief city of the Israeli community, is appropriately named after Lord Krishna. The original name of that city is Jerusalem. In popular parlance, J often replaces Y. Therefore, Jerusalem came to be pronounced as Jerusalem. The term Jerusalem is Sanskrit term Yadu Isalayam, meaning the temple and township of Lord Krishna. The term Yadu Isalayam came to be spelled as Yeru Isalayam because the Sanskrit D is replaced by R in the West. For instance, the Bharatiya word Sari is spelled as Sari or Odisha as Orissa, etc. The township got the name Yadu Isalayam because it sprung up around the dome on the rock. The octagonal temple of Lord Krishna, currently being occupied and used as a mosque by Muslims, exactly like the Muslim has done in Bharat. Another supporting proof is that the city of Jerusalem has a lion's gate, having lion statues. The Krishna temple at Jagannath Puri in Bharat also has a lion's gate. Raising such statues is against Islamic tenets, because the Quran expressly prohibits making the likeness of any living being. Therefore, the traditional version that Sultan Suleiman commissioned them to propitiate his dream that he would be devoured by lions unless he built a wall around Jerusalem is too childish to be believed. As a Muslim, Suleiman would never dare or care to set up lion statues. Floating such frivolous canards to explain away inconvenient details is yet another snare of Islamic writings, which researchers must guard against. Lions are always associated with the sovereign in Vedic tradition. Also embossed on that same gateway along with the lions are lotus symbols, which are a typical Vedic emblem. A photo of that gate of Jerusalem with lions and lotus emblems appears on page 1432, volume 9 of Encyclopedia Judaica. Dr. Lancaster Hardings, an Englishman who has been head of the archaeology department of Jordan for over 20 years, has in his research papers described how the Bharatiya Hindu king Vasumitra Sunga ruled over the whole of the Arab region, including Iraq, Palestine, and Jerusalem. His empire extended up to the Caspian Sea. The temples in that region had Brahmin priests. The Sunga dynasty rule in that region lasted from the 2nd century BC to 156 AD. So, the conclusion is Jews are our brothers and sisters. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Hare Krishna, Har Har Mahadev.